Hey everyone. Okay, so this is going to be a video response to Socialist Regime, or I believe that's what her screen name is. I found out her site from The Elmo is Evil. That's about it. She's been making she's fairly new to YouTube, and she's been making a few videos, mostly of which are sort of along Canadian issues and sort of Canadian identity, maybe, or whatever. For those of you who do not know, I am a Canadian. And I say that only because, I've gotten so many new subscribers. So many, not that many, right? But I've gotten some new subscribers, and I just want to make it known I'm Canadian, I'm not an American, so if you're trying to talk to me or say something, don't just assume I'm an American. Although, who can tell the difference? And that's kind of what this video is going to be about. And that national identity is kind of a joke. What makes me an American different? Not much. What makes me and someone in England different? Not much. The generic variances between all of us are so vast that we could either have everything in common because we're all human, or we have nothing in common because we're all genetically different. Now, it's weird, because we want to think that we're the same. We want to think that, okay, well, maybe we're not the same, but we all work together in the same group. And so there's this weird balance between, how do we be a group dynamic? How do we have a group dynamic? How do we help each other out and work as a community? Because working in a community has done wonders for our survivability. If you work within a community, just for example, if you go through the education system, get a job, raise a family, you've not only spread your genetics, but you've also lived somewhat of a decent life, I suppose. I mean, that's in your control, whether or not you lived a decent life, but let's just assume that you're the majority and that, you've been bred with your expectations and you've met them, so you're convinced that you're happy at this point. So yeah, working with the group, you survive, you're doing great. But there's not a whole lot that keeps us as a group. It's like, look at the Americans, for instance, and this is not going to be a judgmental look, but just look at them, for example. They have a national identity. They're America, they're the most powerful country in the world. Not only is that power diminishing, but at the same time, does that really unite people? The fact that their country's powerful. Oh yeah, their military protects them, so their identity is based on their state? Well, national identity isn't decided upon by a government. It's decided upon the culture that surrounds that nation. Nation. Nationalism is so weird in that it's sort of like, yeah, if you're under this flag, you're part of our team. It's just tribalism, but on a huge scale. You don't have people doing stuff because they're necessarily paid or because they belong to certain noble houses or whatever. They're doing stuff because of their nation. And that's sort of a good thing, because we would do things for our tribe. We would do things immediately for our communities because, like I said before, our survivability is increased if we help out the group. So if we all go along and help out with the group, we'll be more likely to survive. So if something's a threat to America, people don't take it just as a threat to them. They take it as a threat to all of them, to their survivability. But that also creates some problems, because tribalism is said like, I'm an American. And instinctively, anyone who's not an American is going to look very different. And if something's different, you're naturally inclined to believe that it's bad. But there's the other side of the scale. There's that, if you look at a human being, just imagine you're walking down the road one night, whatever, and just for the sake of the experiment, imagine this is a fairly good neighborhood. Like, you don't recall very much crime going on in this neighborhood. You feel safe in this neighborhood. And you see someone doubled over in pain. You see someone bleeding, doubled over in pain on the side of the road. The first thing that's going to run through your head is sort of fear for your own survivability, because, someone's hurt, so obviously there's the potential that whoever hurt them or whatever hurt them is still around and can hurt you. But at the same time, you'll feel bad and you'll want to help that person, because although you have no idea what their social status is or what nation they belong to, they could be from an enemy nation or whatever, all you know is that they're a human being. and the only thing that you know about that human being is that that human being is hurt, and you know instinctively to help that person. You have to go help that person, because if you go help that person, your chances of survivability are increased, because if you help them, everyone will help you when you're hurt. It's just sort of this unspoken rule. You know, one of the most interesting things I've ever found out, this is coming from a video game, for God's sakes, Alien vs. Predator. Everyone that played the Marine in that game, there was the first demo release that they did, it was a free-for-all. You could play any of the races, and your whole objective was to go around killing each other. Everyone that played an alien always worked with the other aliens. Everyone that played a Predator always worked with the other Predators. Everyone that played a Marine always worked with the Marines. Even though only one person was going to win, it didn't matter. If one Marine won, you won, you know? It was weird. It was just sort of like people working together even though they had no reason to work together. And that's kind of what we do. So our national identity isn't important. You know, we don't have to have one. Well, it's not important, but what I'm trying to say is it is important. It is important that we have one, but at the same time, it's kind of like, we don't need to find out what it is, because there is no identity. We're just doing this because helping each other out is important to us. So, our flag is a shade of red, and it has a maple leaf on it. It makes no difference. The only difference between flags is the fact that some look different than the other ones, and they have different forms of state, and they have different forms of rulers. That might seem like, well, that makes a lot of difference, but no, it doesn't. They're just different communities. So if you look at things like the Olympics, you might start to wonder, why are we so different then? Why are communities so divided? If places like Europe can get their shit together, why can't all of us? And I guess that's a question I pose to you guys then. Why is it so hard to be so cliche? Why is it just so hard to get along, you know? Alright. Summer, and someone else tell me another topic or something, because I'm running out of ideas.